Well, welcome back. I'm glad you have visited me one more time for some really awesome tutorials on investing. In fact, this is part two on a video I did earlier this week for children. I've been asked for a very long time to kind of give a basic blueprint, so to speak, on how they can raise, how they can raise their children, young or preteens or young adults. The best way to get them acclimated to the discipline of managing money more effectively, more efficiently, to give them a head start, a start that most of the parents never had. And so there was a lot of good information I gave. I gave a breakdown of basically what you should teach your kid depending on how old the kid is. But at the very end, I kind of stopped short. I was asked, it was a live private event, and they were asking me, what about, wealth minded or the rich way of thinking about money as opposed to the middle class and the poor, investing in general. And then they asked me, you didn't say anything about assets versus debt. And the reason why is it's a little bit more complex. And for parents who may not be aware of this information, to kind of give it to them, to give to their kids, wouldn't be fair. So what I did was I left that out in the first video, and I'm kind of finishing it up with this video, even though this is part two to continue how to teach your kids how to manage and invest their money. It's more than that. It's how to teach them how to create wealth or be rich when they become young adults, never mind waiting to their, put away some nice little nest egg to retire, and probably, hopefully, if they've done everything according to their financial advisors, maybe have $1 million in the bank. Why wait till you're retired to have $1 million in the bank? And not everybody is going to have $1 million in the bank. So why not have the $1 million when you're young, when you can enjoy it? And it's something that's done, and this is taught by the one percenters out there, very wealthy, self-made. I'm not talking about people who've been born with a gold and platinum spoon in their mouth. I'm talking about people like you and I who I came up from the projects, so I understand what it is to be poor. I've spent some time in the past 30 years interviewing wealthy, self-made millionaires and billionaires, and they've all given me their special sauce secret. And it all comes down to this. They teach their kids differently than middle class and poor people teach their kids. Most financial advisors do not know what I'm about to tell you. So this is for the adults as well as the kids. Once you've mastered this, then you can teach your kids and show them how to do it. And again, I don't believe one video is going to teach you it all. You will have to find somebody, a coach that specializes in this. You can even call myself. But not all financial advisors are going to teach us. In fact, this is stuff that I teach financial wealth builders and wealth managers what to do. So let's get on with part two, how to teach your kids how to be more disciplined money managers. Let's start with the quadrants, as they've been asked so many times in the past. The quadrants, what I mean by that, there's 4 different ways to make money in this country, actually in the world. The first part is you got a job. It's easy, right? Hey, got a job, make money, put some away, put some in the savings account. What I said in part 1 was you put in 2 types of savings account, one for a rainy day and one for at least a year, 6 months minimal wealth building. So in other words, if you need to stop for whatever reason, you can stop for a year and still pay all your bills. This is a little bit more advanced than just building, just paying, making a savings account, putting away for your retirement. That's what a job is. You might want to choose solopreneur entrepreneurship. Maybe you just don't want to have a boss anymore. Maybe you don't want to work for somebody else. You rather build your own value, your own business, build your own reputation, and of course, make your own hours and do what you want to do. You might want to be an entrepreneur, solopreneur. That's the second quadrant. First one is a job. Second is entrepreneur, solopreneur. Now, the third quadrant is a business owner. And the difference between a business, let me finish up with the quadrants, then I'll explain each one in more detail. Business owner basically has a system in place, people working for them. They make more money, believe it or not, then the solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and the job owners, the way people in corporations or any kind of business or company that they work for that have an employer. Then you get to the fourth quadrant, which is investors or investing. Now, the difference between all these quadrants, I'll make it real quick. Again, you already know the first two, but I'm going to put more details into it. First one, you're working somebody else's job. You're getting paid by the hour. So the more you're there, the more you make, whatever that is. And then you sock away what you can after you pay all your bills, living expenses. Solopreneur, entrepreneur works very much the same, except you are now the boss and you do and come as you go. You could make technically more money than you did with the other job, technically. But definitely you could be making the same amount as any job, no matter what you were making before, but now you're your own boss. Now, those two are very similar in that they are based in your hours equals your pay. So you have to work to make the money. If you don't work, you don't make the money. Either way, solopreneur, entrepreneur, or you own you work for a corporation or some other job, they all require that your time equals your money. That's it. Company owner, different, a little much more advanced. They can literally walk away from the business for a long time, if not for months even, and the business still makes money. In some cases, it makes more money without them there. And I've had some clients like that. So a business owner has people working for them, and now the potential for them to make more wealth or to be richer is far beyond the solopreneur, entrepreneur, and the job owner. These people don't need to be there physically. So it all depends on how they scale up, how they systematize, how they stabilize their base. The sky's the limit on how much they can make. So it's not dependent. So time is not dependent on them. Time does not equal money for them. For them, time equals whatever their goals are, whatever they're aiming for. So time equals whatever. Sky's the limit on how much they can make. Then there's the investing or investors. Again, this is where you take whatever money you're going to invest and put it into something that's going to create assets for you. It's going to create wealth for you, whether you're there or not. It's 24/7. During any storm, winter, you can be in your pajamas. You don't have to be in any location. It's making money for you. It's also known as mailbox money. And investing could be many things. It could be precious metals. It could be real estate. It could be in other companies. I mean, there are so many ways to invest. And wealth generators or advisors of wealth generation know this. This is not about managing what wealth you created through your job or through your own business you created as a solopreneur entrepreneur. This is something that financial advisors are not even aware of. So if we were to look at this grid, you have on one side jobs, entrepreneurs, which basically an entrepreneur or solopreneur, it's just still a job, but they own it, as opposed to working for somebody else's job. So in this, again, your time equals money. You equal money, and it's limited. On the other side, you got the business owner, she or he can make as much as they want, and they can also be investors or. So if you're a business owner and you're an investor, literally, you can make as much money as you want without even being there. This is what the self-made millionaires and billionaires have told me quietly, secretly, when I've interviewed them, surveyed them. They said, if you wish to be a millionaire or billionaire, that's not necessary. Just to make it clear, a lot of these fine gentlemen and women I've talked to, they were trying to be millionaires or billionaires. That was not the attempt. Their attempt was to increase their value to their customers, to increase their self-worth. And before they knew it, they became millionaires and billionaires. So it was an after effect, a side effect of just owning a business and or investing. So the trick is you want to give your children the option to choose which quadrant. Doesn't matter what quadrant you're in. You might have a job. You might be a solopreneur entrepreneur. Doesn't matter. If you want the kids to surpass your wildest dreams, or if you're already doing financially well, you need to be making sure you're teaching them this, that do you want to work for a job the rest of your life, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people happy doing that and, retiring quite happily, getting all their needs fulfilled, their whole lifestyle fulfilled. Do you want to own your own business? Again, nothing wrong with that. Same as the first. Or do you want to instead of working in your business, work on your business and own a company, which is self-sustaining and taking care of your needs early? And or that plus investing, some of the profits you make. One side of the grid is limited income and you got to work. The other side of the grid, the sky's the limit. There is no amount that you have to stop at. You can make as much as you want and work as little as you want. This is the choice you need to give your children. And once the children understand, well, I like to be on the grid side of owning a business and being an investor, then you have to get the right coaches, the right people, the right advisors who teach this and who have all the services based on the quadrant of owning your own business and investing. Don't go to a financial investor because they normally are just managers of what you've created through your jobs or your company. You want to go to somebody who, it could be anybody. Like I said, it could be a coach. I don't think many consultants that I know of actually teach this, but there are some advisors out there and trainers. You want to find somebody out there that teaches wealth building, not wealth management. And you want to give this to your kids. Now, if you're just made a choice already, just listening to this, wait a minute, I'm already working for a company, but I would like to be make my own business, but I don't want to just be a solopreneur. You might start off that way, but I want to get to a level of owning a company, owning a business and letting it run and take care of me. Or maybe I would like to be an investor too. Well, if that's the case, I hope this information is very useful to you. But again, this is part 2. So we're giving the children an opportunity, since they're so young and they have plenty of time ahead of themselves, to become as wealthy as they want or as rich as they want. And the only difference between wealth and rich, the definition at least was taught by the very rich and the very wealthy. It said wealth means how long can you stay out of a job or work or not working before you have to go back to work to pay your bills. And I already said one of the savings accounts that can be done by self-employed or working a job, they can have at least a year's worth of wealth. They can save it up, and then they don't have to worry if they get, their job, there's a pandemic in the future again, and or they lose their job or something happens, they have to start all over. They have a year's worth of wealth to keep them going until they can start all over again. But for the rich, they look at wealth as not ever going back to work and still making money. That's the difference. Being rich means you never have to work again and money keeps on coming in. Being wealthy is defined by them. How long can you not work before you have to go back to work? Year, 2, 3, whatever. So that's the basic premise of what it is about the quadrants on teaching your kids and teaching you adults which part do you want to be. You want to stay in your job, you want to own a job, you want to have own a company, or you want to be an investor. Now, assets versus debt. This is a mindset. And again, you would have to go to a mindset coach like myself to understand this is how you have to think when you're teaching your kids this. This is what they need to be thinking about all the time. To be wealthy and to be rich, you need to teach them the value of, or the difference of, assets versus debt, and the mindset of how to use only assets and not debts, or how to properly use debts, because they're very wealthy. They have debt just like the middle class and the poor, but their debt makes them money. While middle class and poor, their debt actually costs them money. The difference is, let's just say it this way. Let's use an example of an asset and a debt. I've talked to a lot of people and I said, well, if you own a house, you just bought a house, you got a mortgage on it. Is that an asset or a debt? First thing they're going to say, most often they'll say to me, it's an asset. It's one of the biggest assets you can own, like a car. And that's another example. And I would say, no, it isn't. It's a debt. Because the minute you got that mortgage, if you don't pay the mortgage back, they take your house. You don't pay the finances back, they take your car. So you don't really own the car or the house. It's a debt. It's not making you any money. Now, let's just say, using the same idea of a house, take a house and you buy a multi-family house, 2, 3 family, whatever. And you maybe for a short period of time live in one of the floors and rent the other ones. Now, the rent coming from the other floors you put it away in a slush account, like a separate corporation, LLC, and it basically takes care of the maintenance of the whole property, the mortgage, the taxes, the water, everything. And if you do it right, you'll be living for free with a new mortgage. And that's just one way, by the way, to invest your money. So now that kind of setup with house, with tenants, that's an asset, not a debt, because it's making you money, whether you work or not. So same with a car. I use an example. I bought a truck a long time ago, still have it. I used that truck, and when I bought it, first thing I had the mindset of, it's right now a debt, but we're going to turn it into an asset. Or how do I create an asset to pay for that debt? It's another way of looking at it as well. Again, it's a mindset. It's a different way of looking at wealth building. So I took the truck, financed it. I own a debt. Went and used the truck for my business. Also on the side, I hauled. I mean, there was so many times the truck was just sitting there doing nothing. I just paid a guy or a couple of guys to go and haul garbage for people or trash or to the dump. And that alone, every month, when I market that, paid for the upkeep, the taxes, the emission control, and the finances for that truck. So at that point, even though I still owe money, it was an asset. When the truck no longer was already paid off, I reduced the work in half, still paying off, the taxes and the upkeep of it, still an asset. I'm not paying a cent for it. Even though I own it straight out, I don't own it because if I don't pay taxes and I don't pay the emissions and all that, they won't let me drive it legally. So I still got to keep it as an asset. So I kept working it, but I didn't have to work so much with the truck. The truck was paying for itself. So now here's another example. I tell people, if you bought a truck, is it an asset or a debt? It's a debt. Unless you make that truck pay for itself, it's a debt. Now let's just say, all right, I bought the truck, I paid off the finances. Now it's an asset. No, again, it's a debt. You have to get into the mindset and teach your children this. It's a debt. A debt, by definition, if it doesn't pay you, and if it comes out of your pocket, it's a debt. If you're not paying for it and it's maintaining itself on all levels, taxes, maintenance, everything, then it's an asset. Everything you own, everything you buy, you have to think in those terms. Is this going to be a debt or an asset? And if it's a debt up front, what can you do to turn it into an asset? I teach my clients that when they want a fancy new car or a fancy new bike or a fancy new whatever, toys, so to speak, I say, okay, what kind of an asset can we create? What kind of a company, what kind of investment can we put your money in so that the dividends from that investment or the money created by that company will pay for this debt? So again, it's not coming out of your pocket. Something else you created is paying for that debt. So it becomes an asset. That is a very tricky way to think, but I guarantee you, all the self-made millionaires and billionaires have told me the same thing. If you see everything as a debt and an asset, and do your very best, discipline yourself to never have a debt, make sure that the debt is paid by some asset, be it by a company you create for it or by investing, you will not only create wealth, you will become rich in a short period of time. You will never worry about money. I'm quoting them. So I hope this has helped. I hope this has finished up the first part that I didn't get into the details of it. Now that you see what quadrant to talk about to give to your kids as a choice, what quadrant you might want to be in, and how a debt and asset mindset really changes your whole dynamic of your lifestyle and your career, you can see why I didn't put it in the first video. So with this should complete both. If you like what you heard tonight, please comment me, let me know. or like this video, and then even better, subscribe so you can be, told in advance when new videos of this type will be coming to your social media site. So with that, I want to thank you for being with me tonight, and I'll see you soon.